Real Madrid versus Arsenal. Arsenal have a pathway to winning the Champions League. I can't believe I'm even saying that in a video. They were absolutely fantastic against Real Madrid. One of the great performances I've seen from an English side in many, many years. And any club at any stage in the Champions League knockout rounds, knock out Real Madrid, you then go on to become one of the favourites to win the entire tournament. I don't think they're ahead of Barcelona. I don't think they're ahead of maybe even Bayern Munich. But apart from that, and they're on the other side of the draw, of course, I think Arsenal are massive favourites against PSG or Aston Villa. I don't think it will be Aston Villa. I think it will be Arsenal versus PSG. But there is a massive game to get through for Arsenal, and this is Real Madrid. If anything can happen, if any miracle can happen in European football, it can happen at Anfield. It can definitely happen at the Bernabeu, maybe the new camp on its day as well. It's absolutely crazy what Real Madrid can do to you in a Champions League night. They can be absolutely dross and still get through. Not dross in one leg, they can be dross in both legs, and in the final 10 minutes be quality and still get through a Champions League knockout game. That's how good they are. They are absolute behemoths in this stage of the Champions League. We're going to break down how Arsenal should approach the game and then maybe some small predictions about what they can do in the remainder of the tournament should they progress as well. But we have to just look back at what the performance was from Arsenal, because it wasn't just parking the bus, it wasn't just counter-attacking football. Large parts in the game, they dominated the ball. It was one of the most balanced performances I've seen from an English side. It wasn't just all-out attack. Again, it wasn't all-out defense either. It was so composed. They matched Real Madrid man for man. The energy, the intensity that Arsenal displayed, it's almost as if they've been saving their entire season for this moment against Real Madrid, and they believe more than maybe their own fans believe they could put on that kind of performance. I think we've seen it from Real Madrid this season. They've not been great. They finished very low in the Champions League kind of league table, but when it comes to knockout rounds, that shouldn't matter, because Real Madrid are one of the great sides in the history of football at this stage of the competition, and Arsenal just destroyed that record. It was absolutely incredible. Some standout performances. I have to start off with Kirill. He made a mistake in the early part of the game. He made a mistake in the early part of the same fixture a year ago against Bayern Munich, and it led to a Leroy Sané goal, I think it was. He put all of that behind him. I couldn't believe that he was starting over Ben White. I'm not sure about Ben White. Maybe Arteta doesn't find him the most balanced player to put alongside Saliba. Maybe he just sees Ben White as an out-and-out right back at this point, and he's behind Timber. And also, he's obviously come back from an injury. But I thought Kirill coming in ahead of Ben White, a little bit less experienced, nowhere near as good as Ben White. It proved a fantastic decision. Kirill was a little bit more balanced on the left-hand side of defence. He was playing things out from the back with confidence. After that first mistake, he made a little bit of a mistake in the first part of the game. He was absolutely fantastic. And that side of the defence was as dynamic and robust as the other side, which has Saliba and Jurrien Timber, who are two of my favourite players in European football. I mean, Timber is absolutely outrageous. He was so good in the game as well. He was bombing forward. This wasn't a flat back four, sitting and hoping and try and give it to Saka. They were dynamic. Lewis Skelly was nutmegging Camavinga, a double nutmeg, creating havoc and causing so many issues. Skelly was fantastic. Timber was fantastic. And Saliba, for me, it always proves a point. I think there's always an A and a B side in a centre-back partnership. Gabriel is the B side. He's a very good B side. But Saliba, I think you can pair him up with almost any lesser level centre-back, with all due respect to Kirill, and he can just get you through the game. Terry used to do it with Carvalho. Obviously a very, very quality defender in his own right. Gary Cahill, he had different partners, but it was always Terry as the A side. Same with Vincent Kompany, whether it was a young Laporte, maybe it was John Stones coming through, maybe it was Otamendi, but it was always Kompany as the main guy. Saliba can make you look like a top level centre-back that can keep a clean sheet and get a 3-0 win against Real Madrid. And that's what he did with Kirill. Absolutely fantastic. But the main man was Declan Rice in midfield. Take away the free kicks, I thought he was absolutely fantastic. The amount of possession that he was able to regain, he was so powerful in midfield, keeping the ball ticking side to side, controlling the game. And then you're talking about 2 free kicks, never been scored before in the history of knockout Champions League football in a single game. And Roberto Carlos was at the Emirates watching the game. He must have had a smile on his face, despite the fact it was against Real Madrid, because they were 2 of the best free kicks I've ever seen in a single game. I actually can't think of a moment where a player scored 2 free kicks in a game. It's absolutely mental. And the second one was even better than the first one somehow. I don't know how he's beating Courtois on that side. It is the most clear-cut, precise free kick, powerful as well on the inside of his foot. It's a shame that he had to ruin it against Brentford. Well, at least Sky Sports were trying to get in on the act. Watching him take free kicks pre-match, it was a little bit tin pot, a little bit embarrassing. He'll be looking to take more free kicks against Real Madrid. I think Arsenal have to approach this game like they have to go and win it 4-5-6-0. That is the only way you can approach a Real Madrid fixture. And Mikel Arteta is a very defensively minded manager, but when he lets his side play like he did against Real Madrid at the Emirates, they can go toe-to-toe like they did in the first season when they were trying to win the title in Man City's treble-winning season. When they were a little bit more open, when they're a little bit more toe-to-toe. Yes, they got caught out by Man City in a title race that season, and the following season they became far too pragmatic, in my opinion. Signed loads of defensive midfielders and left backs this season, but ultimately if you let Arsenal play, they can actually devastate any side in Europe. They really can. And that's their way to winning the game. If they can score early in this fixture, it really does kill the tie. The last thing Arsenal want is to sit back on the edge of the box and just be naive and play into Real Madrid, because every second will feel like an hour when you're at the Bernabeu and they're whipping things in. You're not sure where Bellingham's running. You're not sure if they're going to give a penalty. You're not sure about Mbappe, Vinicius, Rodrigo. But if Arsenal can keep it compact and then be adventurous on the counter-attack, even keep the ball, I don't think this is a great Real Madrid side. I think you can keep the ball, keep possession and push Real Madrid back, annoy the fans, and just get to half-time by keeping the ball yourselves and having a bit more possession in midfield, not surrendering it. I've seen Man City do it. I've seen Chelsea do it from winning positions. Fantastic sides, dynamic sides, and they get caught out by being maybe a little bit parked on their own edge of the box a little bit too much. I think Arsenal, if they can be balanced like they were in the first game, keep the ball, they'll be in a fantastic position to score, and then the tie really is over. 4-0. It could have been 4-0 in the Emirates, let's be real. They had 11 shots on target in the first game. Let's be completely real. Arsenal can go on to win this game 4-5-6 on aggregate if they get it right. Bukayo Saka is a big one as well. Saka was absolutely fantastic. He doesn't look like a player that they're kind of rushing back from injury. He looks fresh. He was putting things across the face of the box. Absolutely electric. His pace is still there. Obviously, it shouldn't be changing. He's still in his mid-20s, still in his prime years. But you never know the hamstring injury, how a player is going to come back, their explosivity. He was absolutely electric. I think Real Madrid will improve. They can't be as bad as 3-0. Definitely not. The big thing for me is that midfield. It was a little bit lightweight. I thought Camavinga had a really poor game at the Emirates. If Tchouaméni can come back and come into the midfield, I think it gives them a lot more support, a lot more power in midfield. They can go toe-to-toe with someone like Thomas Partey, Declan Rice and Odegaard, and they can get themselves a little bit further up the pitch and give themselves a platform where, Vinicius, Rodrigo, they're 5-10 yards further up the pitch and they're closer to Arsenal's goal when they get that first ball. If there's any turnover in possession, Real Madrid are far more dangerous with Tchouaméni in midfield, giving it into Bellingham quicker and almost having that kind of turnover in midfield against Arsenal. That's what Arsenal have to be really, really careful about. I'm not too worried. I wouldn't be too worried. As long as they get to the half-time 0-0, I think the tie's over. I really do, because they're so good defensively. And Real Madrid, only won in the last 10 games at home, in the Bernabeu and Champions League football. They kept a clean sheet. So they concede a lot of goals, Real Madrid. They really do. I think Arsenal can go there, nick a goal early, and they can win the tie 4 or 5-0 on aggregate. I can't believe I'm saying that, but they've shown me enough evidence at the Emirates of how balanced they can be, how commanding they can be in midfield. Thomas Partey was fantastic. Declan Rice, as I've said, and even Moreno, who I think has got the goal-scoring touch. I think he could nick a goal in this kind of game. Certainly put pressure on the Real Madrid centre-backs, bring Saka into the game, and I think Arsenal will win the tie. If they don't, it'll be one of the great shocks in the history of European football. It really would be. We don't see many 4-3 comebacks. It would be crazy. We've seen it with Liverpool, obviously with Trent. We've seen it with Barcelona against PSG. But apart from that, honestly, it's very, very rare. I think they could beat PSG. I don't know about Barcelona. I don't know about Bayern Munich. I think they could beat Bayern Munich. But I don't know about Barcelona. If they met Barcelona, they could get smashed in Munich. But it would still be an amazing final. And to get to the final with the injuries, with the concern from the Arsenal fans this season, it would be a big achievement for Mikel Arteta. This is only their third Champions League semi-final ever that they can get to. The last one, 2009. Where were you in 2009? It's crazy. For a big club like Arsenal, I think they'll get there. Leave your score predictions down below. I'm going 2-0, 5-0 on aggregate. And I'll see you very, very soon.